Hello, hello. We are going to get started. Today we're going to be making a fun fold card using the Citrus Blooms stamp set and the dies that coordinate with it. And we're going to be making a fun fold card using a mess-free watercolor technique. So I'm super excited about today's card. So first I wanted to share the dies that come with it. So these are the dies that cut out the images of the stamps, the citrus stamps. But then there are these extra dies. So these will cut out these flowers here. But there are these extra dies that are so fun. I actually even pre-cut them so that you could see how amazing they are. This is actually why I even bought the set. So here is this fun scalloped die, and it will cut out this great image that you can use for stamping, for layering, oh my gosh, for so many things. I love basic shapes like this. This was totally why I bought these dies, but it gets even better. Hey Donna, thanks for joining us. So then there is this great foliage die, and when you cut that out, let me grab my pieces here, it will cut out this background of the foliage. How fun is that, right? It would be a good frame. You could use it for scrapbooking and put a photo right behind it. It would be a great frame to put around that. You can use it on your cards, for a shaker card, I mean, all kinds of things. The other thing you can do is die cut the two together. And if you did that, when it cut out, you would be left with this piece here. So you can see we started with this whole piece. We put both of those dies together, ran it through, and then weeded out the pieces, and then you would be left with this great piece. How fun is that, right? To see how the different ways that that will cut out. We've also got this piece here. We're going to use this one today, and that actually will cut out this foliage piece. So there are so many options with these dies. I mean, even the dies alone, you could do so much with those, right? And of course, some leaves and flowers and things. So the other thing that I wanted to share with you was the paper that we'll be using today, and that is the Mediterranean Blooms paper. So this is 12 by 12 paper. You can see some of the different designs there. There's lots of citrus, so oranges and lemons. Isn't that lemon paper beautiful? I love lemons. And then the back has this fun Mediterranean blue patterns that are just gorgeous as well. So that is the paper that we are featuring today. You can get this in a suite, you can get the stamps and dies in a bundle, or you can get them all individually. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is bring in our paper trimmer. Here, I've got some Night of Navy cardstock, so we're going to create our card base. And remember, you can find all the instructions on my blog tomorrow at stampinqueenbee.com. You can also sign up for my weekly Buzz Bulletin and get a free printable PDF emailed to you each week with all the supplies, the step-by-step instructions, and all the measurements. So what we are doing first here is just creating our card base like regular. So we've got our 8.5 by 11 cardstock. We've scored it in the middle at 4 1/4, and then we've cut it at 5 1/2, and that's how we make our basic card base, right? So for this one, we're actually going to take it and go one step further, and we're going to go ahead and remove 2 inches from one of the sides. So then we're going to be left with our card base, we'll call it here. We're gonna go ahead and fold that on our score line, burnish that, and now we've got our card base. So this leftover piece, we'll just save it for another project. I've already got a couple of our patterned paper cut out. So this is the paper. This is one side with that pretty blue, and then the other side was our beautiful citrus oranges. So we're gonna use both of those, and we're also gonna use a piece of basic white for the inside. So before we glue all these together, we are gonna do a little bit of stamping on the inside piece here. So we've got some pumpkin pie ink. We've got our smaller citrus stamp here. And let me get a piece of scratch paper here, so because we're gonna stamp off a bit this corner. So we're just gonna ink this up with some pumpkin pie. Make sure it's all covered. And we're just gonna stamp the inside corner here of our citrus. And we'll move our pumpkin pie out of the way so I don't stick my hand in it, right? Okay, so with this, what I have found the easiest to do first is to adhere our inside piece. So that's why we stamped that first, and we're gonna go ahead and just add some liquid glue here. And we're gonna put that right in the center, which will be our inside piece. So the reason we're doing this first is because we want to be able to line up our next piece so that our inside piece isn't showing through. So this is gonna be our next piece, and so what we're gonna do with this one, you're gonna see which side do I want. So this right side of it is gonna be what shows, so that's what you wanna be mindful of. And we're gonna make sure that it lines up top, bottom, and the right side so that it's covering our inside layer and you only see the navy behind it. So, you know, it would be easy to do this, right? If we adhered it that way, and then it would be showing through. So we want to make sure, that's why I did the inside piece first. And if it is different on the left side, that's okay. We'd rather have it over a tiny bit on the right so that our inside piece did not show. So let me just get that relined up. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our liquid glue here while we hold our hand here so this piece doesn't move. And then we're gonna close this on top of our patterned paper here. So I'm gonna hold this and we're gonna add some liquid glue here. Now notice I'm not going all the way to the edges on any of this because it's going to stick to this piece, which doesn't go all the way to the edges, right? Gives us that great border. So then we're just gonna close this and give it a little back rub here. And then what's so fun is this is gonna become our card opening. So now it's stuck here to this piece, and we can see both sides of our beautiful designer paper. And now that is stuck there. So for our next piece, we could use the same one. You could put that right on there and it could be the same design. You could even probably cut another piece that was lined up better than this, right? But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip it so that we can actually see the other side of that same paper from here. So then when you open it, it'll match that inside piece, right? So we're gonna adhere this down with some liquid glue as well. And we'll just center that on this front piece. Easy so far, right? It's a fun, easy fold. And you really could use, I mean, you could use this card-based pattern either way. You could do it this way, or you could have it opening this way, right? Either way. Okay, and then just a couple other variations so that you could see. I did these and I didn't decorate them yet, but I wanted you to see the different patterns. So you could very easily use the same one like we're doing on today's card, but you also could flip-flop them. So on this one I did the oranges and the flowers with the blue on the background, right? This one is with some lemon lolly and it's got the blue in the background, but you'll notice I did different papers, right? I didn't flip them. So lots of options with that Mediterranean blooms paper that is just beautiful. So we're gonna set this aside, and the next thing that we're gonna do, I'm gonna bring back my cutter, and I did a little bit of die cutting ahead for us. So this is that piece that I showed you in the beginning, this white piece. And so we're gonna use this on today's card, and you absolutely could just take your card. If it wasn't the beautiful patterned paper, this would make a great layer, right? If you just wanted to show some color through it, like if you were doing this, it would be a great layer that way. But I didn't want to cover up all of our paper, but I wanted to use this beautiful die cut. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually cut this in half. So I just put it all the way to the top and I measured it, and it's just a tad, it's like 5 1/8. So we're gonna cut it in half, which is half of 5, 2.5, right? Plus a 1/16. So we're just gonna kind of eyeball that. Since it's scalloped, it is a little harder to see, but we're just gonna basically cut this piece in half. So now we have 2 halves, so we can use these on both of our cards that we're gonna make, or on 2 separate cards. And we bring back in our scrap paper here. And what we're gonna do, you'll see on our card here, now you'll see where I got that half pattern is right here, okay? So we're gonna do some stamping now. I'm gonna bring in some Memento black ink. We're gonna use our big stamp here, which is got all of those citrus. And when they're bigger like this, I like to ink them upside down so that I can see that everywhere is gonna get enough ink. When they're bigger than the stamp pad, this is how I like to do it. All right, make sure. Let's give it one more time. Okay, so we got that done. Now we're gonna take our stamp here, and it's gonna hang over. That's why I put the scrap paper underneath. So we're just gonna kind of line it up at an angle here to get as much of that image on there as possible. Go ahead and stamp that down. Make sure we press good. Lift that right up. Okay, and now we're gonna create some magic. I think I'll leave this here, but we're gonna create some magic. So we're gonna do mess-free watercolor today. So these are our watercolor pencils. We have 2 sets of them actually. I keep mine in an empty stamp case. You can buy these cases 4 in a pack, and they are so great for storing things. So I store all my pencils in one. I have another one that has like any ephemera packs that we sell. They're each in their own, so they're really great for organizing different pieces. If you were taking a project on a go, you could put all your little die cuts that you had pre-cut in one to keep them, you know, nice. So that is what I like to do with that. So today we're going to be using 4 of the colors. We're going to be using Pumpkin Pie, some Daffodil Delight, a little bit of white, and a little bit of Old Olive. And so we are going to mess free, so no water today for our watercoloring to create our fun images. So the first thing I'm going to do is our flowers here. And so I'm going to lay down some white, which I know you won't be able to see, but we'll be able to see it make a difference at the end. So I'm just going to lay down some white in our flower petals here. And then we're going to take some Daffodil Delight, because we're just going to kind of try to recreate these flowers that are in our designer paper, our patterned paper here, right? So we're gonna go just on any of those dark lines that the Stampin' Up! Artists have already created for us, right? All these shadows, they've already done that for us. So that's where we're gonna put our Daffodil Delight in the petals of these. And then in the centers there, it's a little bit darker. So what I did is I laid our Daffodil Delight down, and then I took a tiny bit lightly of our pumpkin pie and just put that in the center of those. I think I'm going to add just a bit of our Daffodil Delight along the edges here of our flowers, just to make sure, just real lightly. Okay, now let's do our oranges, our citrus here. And so we're gonna go ahead and same thing. Anywhere there is shadows, like those, the black dot lines, any of that, we're gonna go ahead and lay the color down there first. And of course on the outline as well. This is so satisfying. It's relaxing, right? To like the adult coloring books, right? That's what I think of when I think of these. Okay, so we're just gonna keep going all around. I hope you can see this. I will zoom in as I get a bit closer. But you can see all I'm doing so far is anywhere there are black lines, the shadows from the Stampin' Up! Artist, we're just adding some color to those areas. This goes fairly quick. I'm just doing the outline here. Got all of that. Okay, so then in this white area, we want to also put some color, but we want to make it lighter, right? We don't want it to be the same as the shadows. So we're just gonna lightly fill these in. Just all around with a lighter touch so that you can still see the definition. None of this has to be perfect. I'm going to show you the magic trick here in a second to make this blend and look watercolored. Okay. So then I see that here's some flowers here. So let's get those. Okay. And now let's go in with our leaves. So the leaves here, you'll see they darkened, of course, the veins of the leaves, but then they darkened kind of lower and in some shadows, right? So we're just going to recreate that here in our leaves. So the first thing that I like to do is just go over all of the leaf veins, the outline of the leaves. And I'm kind of pressing pretty good on this part. You can do that on the stem as well. Hey, Kathy. Okay. I love mess-free watercoloring. I'm always afraid I'm gonna knock over the water. It's gonna spill all over my project, all over me, all over the desk, right? So I'm all about simple, mess-free. Love, love, love our water color pencils because they really make us look like the total artist. Okay, so now we're gonna lightly do the same thing like we did on the oranges. So we're just gonna add some fill-in color, just real lightly on all of our leaves. This part goes pretty quick. So we're just adding that light kind of fill in, right? All right, so we see all that. So now we want to darken these kind of inner parts. So I'm just going to go right back over and we're just going to create kind of these shadows. Can always add more color later, right? It's just harder to take it off. So that's why I kind of do this in stages. So we're just kind of darkening from the bottom up. There's no right or wrong here. All leaves are different, right? I'm just kind of adding that shadow in there. Okay, so now are you ready for some magic? This is my favorite part. So I said mess-free, so no watercolor. So yes, we have water painters that you could use with them. Yes, you could get some watercolor brushes, but we also have something called blender pens. So these come in a pack. You get a couple of them, and there's 2 tip ends, and there's like, I don't know what inside, magic, something inside that you don't need water, you don't need anything, and look at what we're gonna do. So let's start with our lightest. So we'll start with our flowers here, and I'm just gonna do one of our flowers, and you can see all I'm doing is going in circular motion. Let me get this close. So just circular motion right over our flower there, and look at the difference in the flower that I colored versus the flower that I went over with the blender pen. It totally looks watercolored, makes me look like an artist, right? And don't even have to do that. So let me also go ahead and do one of our oranges. So if you want to get any ink off, you can just kind of go on your scratch paper. And then with these, you can see I'm just going circular motion all around my orange here. And you'll see, look at the difference in those 2 oranges. So if I was just to color it, you can see all the lines, right, from my coloring. But when I color it and then I use my blender pen on top, look at how awesome that looks. You can see all the shadowing in there. It totally looks watercolored and makes it look, you know, way more realistic than just coloring with the pencils. Okay, so let me go back and get my other flowers here. So one thing I will say with this is you want to be careful not to over color with your blender pen, because the more you do it, you can wear a hole in your paper if you do too much of it, right? So you just want to kind of a light circular touch. That's kind of what I like to do, just to kind of blend that all together. See what a difference that makes? Okay, and then make sure there's no orange on there. Let's go into our leaves here and watch these transform. Oh my goodness. So just look, let me get closer a bit. Look at the difference in this leaf here and our other leaves over here. Wow, right? All right, let's finish this up and we'll finish our card. There we go. I think we got them all. So I love, love, love our blender pens with our watercolor pencils to really create that I call mess-free watercoloring. No water needed. Okay, so now we've got our piece here. I also told you I die cut this piece already for us. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip these 2 over. I'm gonna bring in my Stampin' Seal Plus, and I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of seal right on the edge here. And then I'm gonna take my 2 pieces, and I want this to show, I want it to hang over because I want to be able to see the foliage. So we're just gonna kind of play with this. Remember, it'll be on our card. We want it all to show. So I think about halfway here. And once I've decided that, then I'm just gonna go ahead and press this here so that it's stuck to this piece. And I'm gonna add some Stampin' Dimensionals here. Let me grab those. We're gonna add these just to the back here of our piece of the white part. Don't need to add them here, it'll be all stuck, but the Stampin' Seal holds it there, and then the dimensionals keep it where you want it, right? So we'll just go ahead and add those. Before I take the backings off and stick this on, I'm gonna bring in my Wink of Stella. And so there's a couple of things you can do with this piece. So we can just flick our Wink of Stella. That's what I did in our first card. So we would just go like this, and we would flick our Wink of Stella just all over this piece here until we liked it. So you could see just a bit of sparkle. Don't know if the camera is going to pick that up, but you could do that. We could also add a bit into our flowers here. Just like so, okay? So we'll let that dry a second. While that's drying, we're gonna peel off our backings here. All our dimensionals. And our card's almost done. I got another fun tip for you, so stick around because I don't want you to miss this one. This is such a great tip. I use it all the time. You're not gonna wanna miss it. Okay, so let's see, 2 more here. Trying not to touch the front since I know it's got that Wink of Stella. All right, we got all those, yep, okay. So now we're gonna take this, I just like to line it up with this side piece here. I'm gonna go ahead and stick that down. We've got our focal layer to our card all ready. Now we need a sentiment. So for our sentiment, I'm gonna use some Night of Navy. I've got a scrap here of basic white, and we've got our Just Checking In sentiment from this stamp set. So we'll ink that up. Stamp that down. If it's a little wonky, I always keep extras here to kind of line it up better. If I use my grid paper, like I tell you guys too, then it will all work much better. Okay, so now we're gonna take this and we're going to, let me close this up. We're going to take our paper snips here and we're just going to snip that little edge off. Okay, now we're gonna take our Night of Navy. I put that away, but we need it one more time, and we're going to actually dip it to create a little bit of a navy border in our sentiment. So that's all we did right around the edge of that. So we'll let that dry 1 second. We're gonna use some dimensionals for this as well. So these side pieces are good for skinny sentiments, right? So you can put this right there. Then we're gonna take this, and I've got my last tip for you. As soon as we get this put on, I just put it on over here. You could put it up at the top here. If you wanted to put it over, you could do that. You could put it at an angle. I'm just gonna put it here at the bottom, and I'm gonna line it up with the right side here. But you really could put it anywhere. Okay, so are you ready for my great tip? So have you ever been looking for embellishments and you're like, man, I wish I had such and such color? If you're like me, I do that often. Have all these embellishments and I'm missing a certain color, right? So my favorite tip for that is using what I think is the sentiment everybody needs, which is our basic rhinestone jewels. So they work on anything, they match with nearly every card, and so you could very easily just stick those right on. But sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I had some pumpkin pie embellishments. So here's my tip for you today. So these are our Stampin' blends. These are our alcohol markers. And so you can actually color in our basic rhinestone jewels with any of our Stampin' Blends alcohol markers. So I like to use the dark version of it. So we're just gonna go ahead and do that right now. I'm gonna color in 5 of these for our card. So you'll see how easy peasy this is to do. All I'm doing is simply going in a circle around our gems here. Let me get that closer. And now I have, of course, the silver, the basic ones, but now I have some pumpkin pie embellishments, right? So one embellishment with your Stampin' Blends could equal any color embellishment that you need. So I love, love, love sharing that tip because sometimes we just need a certain color, right? So now I'm just gonna take these and we're just gonna stick them onto our card. Do a couple there, a couple in this top right corner here, and one more we'll put right up here. So how fun is that? You can turn these embellishments, I know this is gonna be many of your favorite tip, but you can turn the basic embellishments into any color embellishments with that tip. So I hope you love today's card. You can use it for any occasions. That fun fold is so great for all your patterned paper because you really get to showcase all those designs. I hope you love the easy watercoloring mess-free with our pencils and our blender pen to really make us all look like artists. So have a great day, everyone, and I will see you guys next week. Remember, stampinqueenbee.com for all the tutorials on my blog, or you can go and subscribe to our weekly Buzz Bulletin. All the details are below. And as always, I thank you so much for liking, for watching, for sharing, and subscribing to all the things. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.